The RF 16mm 2.8 is probably my most used lens on the Canon R5 and honestly one of my favorite lenses on the Canon R5. So my first RF mount camera was actually the Red Komodo 6K, shortly followed by the Canon R5, which is what I'm using to film this right now. Now, when I got this, I knew I wanted to take advantage of some of the RF lenses out there, so I started with a couple of lenses. First of all, the 24-105, the Nifty 50, and then the Canon 15-35, which is honestly probably my favorite lens of the bunch, except it's probably my least used on the Canon R5. Now, don't get me wrong, the 15-35 is an amazing lens, but there's a couple reasons why I almost always leave this at home when I am using just my R5. To give you a little context, for video production and stuff, this lens goes with me, and typically I use my Red Komodo and Red Komodo X for those sorts of projects. The R5 really is kind of my travel camera and my stills camera and, you know, vlog, YouTube stuff and all that. And this lens is kind of overkill for all that stuff. Because honestly, I don't really like bringing that much attention to me when I'm in public, when I'm vlogging or taking pictures or whatever. And it also is just a smaller footprint. Like, not only does it draw less attention to you, and you know, I feel like people get really uncomfortable when there's like a big camera and lens and all that. So it's kind of like a more comfortable situation, at least for me. But also just from a travel practical standpoint, this wide angle lens takes up so much less space than my 15-35. Now, I know what you're saying. Well, the 15-35 is a zoom lens, so you don't really get the benefits of the 35mm focal length. You're absolutely right. And to that, I would say most of the time when I'm on the 15-35, I'm usually at the wider end anyways. Now, of course, that's more geared towards video than it is photo, in the sense of like I'm zooming in and out, because with photo, with the 45 megapixel sensor of the R5, I honestly feel like I just kind of bring it out a little bit further than I would, so I don't get any like crazy distortion on the subject. And you know, if it's like outside stuff, there's plenty of separation from the background with the 2.8 aperture. Crop in a little bit and it looks great. Like this photo right here, shot on the R5 with this little 16mm prime, and I think it looks great. Now, optically, I don't think this thing's gonna win any awards. Actually, be ironic if it actually did, but I mean, it's not anywhere near as good as the 15-35 with regards to like optical quality, and you do get some like crazy distortion or whatever, the like on the corners and stuff like that, and you know, it's not going to be like the strongest performer in that sense. But for me, that doesn't matter, because my use case for this lens isn't for pristine landscape photos or, you know, really high-end work. This is like my convenient everyday lens that I can use for you know, vlogging, travel, all that kind of stuff. So for like most scenarios, I don't really care that much about having the sharpest lens with like the most perfect characteristics for this kind of stuff, because honestly, I would much rather have a more convenient and frictionless system than having a big old lens and all that. Hopefully by now you've realized this is not a full-on review. It's really just my experience with this lens. It's an awesome lens. I really like it. It's got pretty decent autofocus, f2.8, great for most stuff. And like, don't think that like if you've got a new camera, you've got to get the most expensive lens because your favorite YouTuber uses that lens and like it's the most expensive one, so it's got to be the best. Like, no, it's not necessarily the case. It might be the best for some things, but it might not be the best in some cases. And for me, having both the 15-35 and the 60mm prime, I almost always go for this lens over the 15-35. So if you are on the hunt for an ultra wide angle lens, I really think that this 60mm prime is worth a serious look. Now, I paid for this lens with my own money. I'm not getting sponsored or paid or anything by anybody to talk about this lens. I just really like this lens. Now, there are a ton of videos on YouTube that go over the technical side of this lens with focus and sharpness and all that kind of stuff, and that's not what this video is. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, I'll link some videos down below for you to check out to see if it meets your technical needs. Now, with all that said, I am really happy with this lens. I think it is a seriously great value for what you're getting, as long as your expectations are in line and you kind of understand what you're purchasing. Now, if you are so inclined to purchase this lens, I'd appreciate it if you use the link in the description below. That'll kind of give me a little bit of help. It's just an affiliate link. It doesn't cost anything extra to you, but it's kind of a way of, you know, whatever vendor saying thank you for sending you to them to purchase the lens. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. That's all I got for this video, and I will catch you in the next. Peace.